You think HBO's Succession was riveting? Wait till you hear about this one. It's got geopolitics, it's got India-China rivalries, it's got a religious figurehead, and it's got a mysterious reincarnation ritual. I'm talking about the Dalai Lama. He is the spiritual and political head of Tibetan Buddhists. The current Dalai Lama lives in India. He fled Chinese persecution around 6 decades ago, so you can imagine how old he is. The Dalai Lama will turn 90 on Sunday, 90 years old on Sunday, so naturally there are questions about his successor. In the past, he's given mixed signals. Once he said the tradition would end with him, no more reincarnation, no more Dalai Lama, that's what he said. Then on a different occasion, he suggested that his successor could be a woman. But today he set the record straight. Listen to what the Dalai Lama said.
If it is about Lama's reincarnation, when all the followers have unanimously said that the reincarnation should continue, then it is obvious that it will come. Since my September 24th, 2011 statement, which states that responsibility for doing so will rest exclusively with members of the Gaden Phodrang Trust, the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they should accordingly carry out the procedures of search and recognition in accordance with past tradition. I hereby reiterate that the Gaden Phodrang Trust has sole authority to recognize the future reincarnation. No one else has any such authority to interfere in this matter.
3 things to note here. 1, the tradition will continue. The institution of the Dalai Lama will not end. 2nd, the successor will be chosen by a trust that was set up by the Dalai Lama himself, meaning he wants to retain control of the process, if not him, at least his allies. And finally, the 3rd point, the Dalai Lama says no one else can meddle in the process. He was clearly talking about China. Beijing has total disdain for the Dalai Lama. They have called him a wolf in sheep's clothing, and China does not like this plan. They want the authority to approve the successor.
The reincarnation of the Dalai Lama must adhere to the principle of domestic search, golden urn draw and approval by the central government, and be handled in accordance with religious rituals, historical customs, and national laws and regulations.
Strange, isn't it? China is a communist country. The government does not believe in religion. The Communist Party of China is officially atheist. The members are prohibited from practicing religion. So why this obsession with the Dalai Lama? Because it is political. Quick history lesson here. Tibet did not willingly join China. It was annexed. It was taken by force in 1950. The locals never accepted Chinese control, so Beijing needs a tool to win over the Tibetans. And what better tool than a loyal Dalai Lama, a leader appointed and controlled by Beijing? That is why the Communist Party of China is so interested in the succession. Which brings us to the process itself. Tibetans believe that the Dalai Lama is reincarnated. When he dies, his spirit is transferred to a young boy. The Tibetan community's job is to find that boy. The current Dalai Lama was found in similar fashion in 1937. He was just 2 years old then, in Tibet. Chances are the next Dalai Lama will be found outside China. If not, Beijing could whisk him away. In fact, that has happened before. You see, the Dalai Lama is the top Tibetan leader, the senior most. At number 2 is the Panchen Lama. The 11th Panchen Lama was identified in 1995, and within days, he was kidnapped by the Communist Party. 3 decades have passed since then. No one has seen the Panchen Lama. The boy was just 6 years old at the time. China abducted him, a 6-year-old boy. So you can imagine the lengths that China will go. And that is why the Dalai Lama is being so careful. He has previously said that his successor will be born in India. Other top Tibetan officials have echoed this line.
There is no traditional kind of restriction. The Dalai Lama should born in Tibet. The Dalai Lama born in Mongolia, the 3rd one, and the Dalai Lama born, if today in India, the 6th Dalai Lama, and there's no nationality or geographical boundary.
There are some 100,000 Tibetans in India. They have set up a government in exile. It's easily possible to choose a successor from this community. But for New Delhi, it's a bit tricky. Yes, it gives India leverage over China. At the same time, you don't want to get too close, especially in the middle of a reset. And that is why we call this succession revetting. It promises to raise temperatures and strain diplomatic ties. But what will it mean for Tibetans, for their way of life and their religion? Well, there are two parts to it. Tibet was a global cause in the last century. Hollywood was championing it. US presidents were talking about it. The Dalai Lama was even given the Nobel Peace Prize. But of late, the movement has lost steam. Prime Minister Modi has never met the Dalai Lama, nor has Donald Trump or Joe Biden. The Tibetan movement was basically forgotten. Perhaps this succession drama will revive it. Perhaps it will spark interest again, and we saw signs of that earlier today. Every global publication was covering the Dalai Lama's speech. Having said that, attention is not enough. You need to follow it up with a plan. Naturally, you cannot expect a young successor to do that, so that job will fall to the current Dalai Lama. What is his vision for Tibet? Initially, he wanted independence from China. But around 2010, he made a U-turn. He gave up the call for complete independence. Instead, he demanded autonomy. Basically, a special status for Tibet within China. Of course, even that is not acceptable to Beijing. It may not even be acceptable to many younger Tibetans. And that will be the key factor going forward. Yes, a succession will create a reset. But that reset could go either way. When the moment comes, every country will have to take a tough call. Every country, including India.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karj ho.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.